and what do these characters have in common?
They have some job to do.
They have some jobs to do. So what do you think might be the topic of this project?
Workers.
So project-based learning, also known as PBL, is an instructional pedagogy that is inquiry-based, it's student-driven, it extends over time, and it involves authentic investigation of a complex question or a complex problem. So here you're going to be presented with those character cards, and you're going to use those character cards and this character grid to classify and categorize the physical features of each character. So for example, right here, the nurse says the physical features include a uniform, medicine. So I started the entry event by introducing different types of characters that wore different types of uniforms and had different types of tools just to activate prior knowledge. And students took those characters and their character grid and they labeled them with certain careers just to try to get them focused and thinking in terms of careers and jobs and occupations. Okay, so because that character possessed these, what does it tell you about that character?
That it has.
You just told me that it has that, but what does this tell you about the character? Can you tell me something about the character just by the characteristics?
That it's a construction worker.
That it's a construction worker, which is relevant to an engineer. So because project-based learning is student-driven, I knew where the end result would be, and I knew that I wanted them to research careers. So when I launched the project and started the entry event, guiding them into careers, they came up with the driving question, what do I want to be when I grow up, through some of the questions that I had for them. Okay, and Manuel.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What do you want to be when you grow up? The next step in launching this is now we need to find out what things do you need to know. So we're going to create a need to know list in your groups, and you have to think and ponder, what is it that I need to know in order to be something that I want to be when I grow up? So after students came up with their driving question on what they want to be when they grow up and how are they going to get there, they came up with a needs to know list. So it was a list of things that they needed to know about their career. So what does a person do in their career?
Oh, I know. What kind of degrees do we need?
What's their salary? What tools do they use? What skills do they have? What education do they need? And so what I thought was to bring in the experts to give them firsthand information. So I invited people from the community to come in and share their knowledge of their occupation with our students.
Yes. You have to communicate. You have to be able to talk to people. You can't be like, does it hurt somewhere? You know, is that your car's burning on fire? You can't do that. You have to be able to write reports because, like, if somebody's car burns, like one lady, she was driving, all of a sudden, her car just caught on fire. All of a sudden with her babies in it. So we have to be able to take a form and we have to write a report like, well, when we got here, the car was burning and the tire was on fire. We have to be able to write a good report. We just can't say, and it ain't gonna burn, it was red, smoky, and it was ucky. What? They're gonna go, what? You can't do that. You can't do that. So you have to be able to write very well.
So when guest speakers came in, students took notes, and that was something that they have been learning about note-taking, and their notes basically derived from their need-to-know lists. So the questions that they had were the questions that they came up with And while speakers were speaking, they took notes on what they learned. So one of the needs to know questions was, what type of education does one need for a particular occupation? So I thought of taking the students to the water district, because the water district has a lot of different positions that require different types of education. So there were people that were laborers that needed the least education, and then there were people who were engineers who needed a higher education. We also took a field trip to Cal State San Bernardino, and the reason why we did that, because during their research on careers, many of them found that they needed a college education to get there. And so I thought, well, let's go to the college, let's find out about the different schools on college, let's find out the requirements that it takes to get there, and let's get them familiar with college life. All right, so this morning we're going to continue with our project on careers. And remember, our driving question is, what do you want to be when you grow up, and how are you going to get there? So you generated your list of need to knows, right? Your need to know lists. So today, when you conduct research, you're going to be looking for answers to these questions that you want to know. So what I've done is I have taken your career choices and I've grouped you into groups at tables. You're not in. When students had their need to know lists, they then conducted research on computers, on books, and this is when I basically flood the class with information. So at each table, there is a circle map. In the middle of the circle map, it's telling you that you're going to have a table talk. So you're going to preview the books that you have with your team. If you don't have a team, you're just going to look at the books on your own. You're going to discuss facts found in the book. So you're not going to read it thoroughly. You're going to look for some of those questions, answers to some of these questions. When you find one, you're going to write one fact in the circle. One of the things about project-based learning is that it extends over time. And so conducting research took probably about a month to do.
Nurses care for patients.
Students continued to go onto the computers. Some of them found that maybe they weren't getting enough information, so they had to look into different resources. Some of them went back into the notes that maybe the experts gave to them, and so they collectively looked at a variety of information that they collected. So as a reminder, your products must include your title. Okay, so you can always refer to that science board, right? As an example, you need to include your title. You need to include your need to know, so that's the list of the things that you needed to know. So because project-based learning is student-driven and they have a voice and they have a choice, they not only came up with their driving question and their need to know list, they also determined what product they wanted to produce to show the knowledge that they gathered. So I gave them some samples, some ideas of how they could produce their knowledge, and they then determined what products they wanted to come up with.
Hi, my name is Savannah Chavez. I'm in grade 2. And my title is A Day in the Life of a Nurse. When I grow up, I want to be a nurse. Job description. A nurse is a person who helps patients with medical care when they are hurt or sick. Doctors fill up their medicine. A nurse needs good writing skills, communication skills, and good math skills. Nurses.
So one of the elements of project-based learning is for students to present their products to the public. So we invited parents, we invited administrators, and people of the community to come in and observe what the students learned. Project-based learning fits in with Common Core because it focuses on the 21st century skills. It focuses on collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity, and it prepares our students for career and college. Okay, so that concludes our career day. So project-based learning engages students because students are learning about something that is relevant to them. It's authentic. It's something that they can use in the real world. So they're excited about the information that they're collecting, and it's engaging. They collaborate. They're using their critical thinking skills. They're using their creativity, and they're basically driving their own learning.
Education and training. A biologist needs a bachelor's degree in biology. Also, they can get a master's degree, which is a better degree than a bachelor's degree, because they'll